the release of Superman and the Fantastic Four, it's clear to see that the landscape of superhero movies is changing. What does that look like for our current situation and looks towards the future? This is I Have No Title and I Must podcast. We are your hosts, Tyler
and Chris.
And so far, Superman's performed fairly well at the box office, so I think that's some good changes for DC given where it's come from. Fantastic Four, though getting pretty good reviews, did well on its opening week, but not so much thereafter. So that's could be concerning, but where do you think we're going from here?
Did you know the Marvel films are broken up into sagas? Yeah, everybody knows that, right? Like in the beginning, it was super important and cool, you know, like, oh, we have like this phase, these phases, like into phase 1, into phase 2. Did you know what phase we're in?
Like 7.
We're in 6.
I was close.
Did you know what movie started phase 6?
Was it the Fantastic Four?
It was. I didn't know that until I saw it just now. I thought Fantastic Four was really good, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was such a massive change of pace from what we've been getting, especially recently. Phase 6 for Marvel, at least the films, there's a lot of TV shows, and I can't keep track of what's in what where, and a lot of them only tangentially connect to the movies, and apparently they filmed an Armor Wars with Don Cheadle, and it's just never, it's ready to go, but it won't be released. Phase 5 was, and this is crazy how short it was, Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, Guardians 3, The Marvels, Deadpool and Wolverine, Captain America, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts, * Secret Avengers movie, but really not. When I look at this, it's like, Ant-Man and the Wasp was okay. It was just getting started with Kang stuff, like really making Kang, introducing him into the forefront in a way that Thanos wasn't. And then they had him in Loki, and that was in a vastly different way, and I thought that was all really cool. And then that got up because of all the stuff with Jonathan Majors' private life. I don't know enough about those things, and I was not there, but it really looked like, same with James Gunn. It's like we made a knee-jerk decision, and sometimes
I've heard so many conflicting things. Some's like, yeah, that situation wasn't what it looked like, but there were other situations that were what they looked like.
Yeah.
And I heard some people say that they weren't just feeling that stuff anyway, the character. So.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, you know, multiverse stuff is played out, but like, if you liked, I never watched any of it, but like the Flash Arrow verse or whatever, which tangentially connected like to Stargirl, I think was a show maybe. The Supergirl show, they crossed over quite a bit, and though I don't think it was the same character, but in the context of a larger multiverse, the Tyler Hoechlin Superman, it introduced Tyler Hoechlin Superman, and maybe that was the same one. It's hard to say, because I watched the whole show, his own personal show, but it never has any.
Although I will
episodes.
say, with an aside for the Arrow Flash verse, the reason they had multiverses is because some of those were originally on different channels and owned by different networks,
and they all consolidated to
eventually
CW.
Once Constantine was canceled and Supergirl was canceled, they just kind of consolidated the characters. Some of them had their shows ported over to the network, some just had the characters, but it was originally that way, and so it's just like, oh, we went to a different universe because we're on a different network.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was just a little fun little Easter eggy thing.
And over the years where we've had, you know, like they had that one where they even bring in Brandon Routh to play a Superman. They had, I know his name, the guy from Smallville.
Oh, yeah.
Smallville, people love that show. And I think one of the Robin, Burt Ward maybe, had like a cameo in one of their, you know, bigger crisis events where it's like bringing in, and the Flash from the 90s TV show, which I watched quite a bit of. And I think they brought in Mark Hamill to play one of his villains.
They reprised Mark Hamill's role from the Flash TV series from the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, early 90s, yeah.
And the actor that played the Flash in that played Barry Allen's dad. But in later episodes, they did let him play Jay Garrett.
And he was so he was two roles. He was the character in the Flash show, the modern Flash show, but he was also a Flash from the 90s, and he then got to reprise his role as that character. Who was that? Also,
No, I don't know if he's playing Barry Allen in that show, but
it wasn't Wally West. I can tell you that.
Yeah. No, they let him play Jay Garrett, like the Golden Age Flash, from where they did the Flash from Two Worlds.
Okay.
Storyline.
Because I know that I've seen clips. I've only seen clips because some of the clips I've seen have like really bad dialogue, and I can't. It's like some of the clips are like really cool multiverse stuff. And it's like, oh my god, there's all sorts of like crazy things going on with a Reverse Flash, and some of the costumes actually look pretty cool. It almost tempts me to watch it, but I won't, because then I see it's an exchange between the Flash and Supergirl where they're gonna race, and it's like the worst dialogue of all time.
Yeah.
Embarrassingly so, but that's fine. If you like it, I get it, because it's just fun. I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying, like, that's a bridge too far for me. But it looks so cool in how they were bringing everything in. And that's my thing with, like, what I was saying about James Gunn with the Peacemaker stuff and, like, what is canon and not canon, because with the multiverse stuff, it gets complicated, except kind of not, because in the context of the larger multiverse, everything's canon. Like, they essentially canonize, like, with Deadpool and Wolverine here, they canonized, like, Elektra, Blade, and whatever else. You know, the X-Men movies have so many contradictions from, like, every other movie, you know? And especially like the Wolverine ones where there's like nobody's talking to each other from movie to movie. The people who are making them, especially the ones that are set in different time periods, that they're just like, I want to use this character, Emma Frost or whatever, and it won't make any sense at all for her to have existed as an adult in the early 60s, but also a teenager in the late 70s.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the same. Then they can say some other bullshit later, but the only thing that makes sense is some of those movies don't line up because they're literally not the same timelines.
Yeah.
Which then there's time travel, the X-Men time travel all the time, disrupting that. And then you just win the no prize for like, well, the reason for this is I've just solved this issue, but you just can't look at it. Like, you can't go into the movies expecting them to all make sense. So with like James Gunn's issue of what's canon and what's not canon in the context of the larger multiverse, everything kind of, and maybe it'll make more sense after, because I think he painted himself into a corner where he was doing things before he got total control.
Yeah.
And then when he got total control, he was like, my stuff was good. I want to keep my stuff in there, but some of it is going to be too connected to the old universe. So he's like, if we reference it directly, then it's canon. I'm like, cherry picking individual scenes from episodes? We have to keep a notebook with us? That's crazy. So I think I think he's being pedantic.
Yeah.
I think once we see Peacemaker season 2, we're going to make a universe jump or something, and it's going to be much clearer what happened. It was going to be two very similar universes, and some of those things actually did happen in the universe we're in now, that the Superman movie is set in, that also happened in the other universe. It's just, you know, like Rick Flag's son may have also died in this universe that we're also going into. So
I think we could also have the situation where, like, Peacemaker's just an unreliable narrator.
Well, he definitely is, because he's full of shit about almost everything. So there is also that. With looking at where we've just been recently from 2023, there were some good and bad films. The Marvels got a lot of hate. It was actually, I think it was one of the better ones.
I think that's kind of the issue with a lot of stuff right now, is some of it isn't people. Okay, back up. I think a lot of people are comparing what's coming out now to Endgame, and you just can't do that, because Endgame was the payoff to multiple years of work, and now we're starting new storylines. So you can't compare that. It's like, I know we're coming off that high, but it is just not feasible, because you got to have that set up again and then the payoff. Now, arguable, Marvel has not done that with a lot of their movies. Some of it has felt lazy, especially with like the new Ant-Man and stuff. But also, it just seems like you got people just wanting to hate on stuff just because the Marvels wasn't that bad of a movie. I thought it was actually pretty good also. Same way with Black Widow. It's like, you could argue that they done Scarlett Johansson wrong because of whatever the contract deals were. But I don't think the movie itself was that bad.
Yeah.
I think people, I don't know, you just have probably a minority, but a very vocal one that's causing a lot of problems, that just don't want to watch these female-led movies. And so as soon as they see that, they don't even see the movie and they start complaining. And so that people are either by that point tired of listening to them, so don't want to see the movie because they don't want to be part of that anymore, or tired of being let down by Marvel in combination with that, and so they don't see it there either.
Yeah. So like DC makes a lot of movies that are not like they're comic book films, but they're comic book films that you don't know are based on comic books, which a lot of people have covered. I didn't realize Black Adam was 2022. That's pretty far back. And then the next Shazam movie was after that. Seems crazy. I didn't see that. I gave up on DC films after. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, in some ways, I read more DC than I did Marvel when I was a kid. Man, the Blue Beetle movie was 2 hours and 7 minutes. Seems long. And then Aquaman. After that, like, this is blowing my mind to see that. And then technically, the Joker movie was the last. I mean, that's obviously not in the same canon as the larger universe of DC films. But so we got Superman, Supergirl, Clayface. I hope it's good. I actually really like the concept of that. It seems strange that it's the third of these films, but whatever. And then there's going to be, it looks like 2027 is slated for The Batman Part 2. Who knows? And I think James Gunn is wanting maybe there to be just movies that are not specifically in his canon of films to also be made, and just doesn't want to shut them down because they're not in his films. They're not in line with his films, but they're good films. So that seems incredibly fair. A lot of people want to see them just rolled in.
Yeah.
Want to see Pattinson rolled in. Yes, you heard me. I said that.
I wouldn't be too opposed to that.
I honestly, the more I think about it, I can't remember. I think it was just some random Instagram post. And I say random, and that guy's probably got 1 billion followers or something, but it was just something that popped up on my feed that I didn't know. But the idea that they could get Henry Cavill to play Batman and not, it would almost feel like poaching him away from wherever else at this point, because he's way too good looking and too good an actor to like let go to waste, with how Snyder made a Superman film in the same mentality that he made the Watchmen film.
Yeah.
I think was a mistake. Yeah, that's a whole big other kettle of fish. Just looking at when we made our Superman film a year ago, when we made our Superman podcast, the talk about Superman in general, I never thought the discourse a year later. Wow has our culture shifted to the point where they would hate like a symbol of hope. I did not see that coming. So anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Although we probably should have.
I was not that, at the time, I was not that pessimistic. I was pretty optimistic about where things were going. But anyway.
It just seems anymore people want to hate on things just because that's the thing to do. It's like, if that's not your thing, that's fine. And with certain things, there is definitely critiques that are not good. I mean, not the critiques themselves, but the things they're critiquing.
The bad actor. Yeah. They know that they're aware even that like this is meant to be a symbol of hope and optimism, and it's brightly colored, but they're like, no man, you don't understand Superman. He needs to be wearing black or at least navy blue and take off those silly looking trunks. I want to see that curvature, okay? Yeah, I want to see it all. If you can't see it, then what are you even doing with your life, bro? If Superman were real, he'd go to the gym with me. I don't wear trunks at the gym either. We do squats together.
Oh, that's a lie. Everyone skips leg day.
That's what I think about most of the vocal minority who are really hating on Superman now. They're like, we've absorbed it. Like all the Snyder bros. And I think that's actually not helping. People who don't actually like or read comic books, that have co-opted comic book culture because of the movies, and that being really two completely separate different things. The problem with that is that where more people watch movies than watch comic books, the movies can have a massive influence on the comic books themselves. It's a feedback sort of thing, you know, where Robert Downey Jr. was so popular as Iron Man, it influenced the character of Iron Man in the comic books drastically. And the same, it can either be with the look, a personality shift, or several other things. We have like 2 Nick Furies because of the, you know, that's the ultimate line of comic books. Like that's a completely separate thing. Don't at me. I know it started in the Ultimate line of comic books first, and then Sam Jackson really wanted to play him because his license was essentially used, and that was a very intentional thing. Then that manifested, he actually did end up playing that. So then you had a Nick Fury that was more popular than classic Nick Fury, which had been around for like something like 50 years.
Since the 40s.
Yeah, so even more than that. So, but I think in this canon, or maybe even the Ultimates comic, that Nick Fury, the Nick Fury that you see now that looks like Sam Jackson, is mixed race, technically, because the original Nick Fury is his dad, or related to him, like, fairly closely. Maybe it's not his dad, but I cannot remember. I would love to see them bring back the original Nick Fury and have them both in something together. I think he essentially got wasted. I really wanted to see a Sam Jackson show so bad, and I wanted it to be good so bad, but it wasn't. So I think we have a really vocal minority that doesn't really understand science fiction, comic books. I've mentioned this, I think, for the past 7 podcasts. There are people who don't know the difference between Marvel and DC. And if they do, they get certain core characters confused. My specific example is Daredevil. That's the one I can remember is Daredevil, but I've had other people not sure which is which. And they're, now, I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go. I really wanted to see the end of Kang. Not the end of Kang, but I wanted to see the storyline play out.
I think it didn't help, too, that during this time we had different studios putting out movies that weren't connected, and so the average person was confused.
That, too, because that complicates matters. You don't just have Marvel and DC. When then somebody says, like, oh my god, when are we going to see Morbius in, Avengers? And it's like, we're not. And they're like, why not? It's Marvel, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it's Marvel, but it's not Marvel. It's like Sony Marvel or whatever. And then there was like Fox Marvel. And that all stems back to Marvel when they went bankrupt or almost went bankrupt. They sold off all the movie rights to a bunch of things to different movie studios. There's a reason why we haven't had another Hulk movie. There's Submariner, I think, was even... That's I think maybe still in limbo. That's why he didn't have his own film, I think. There's another big one that I can't remember. So, yeah. Fantastic Four did not perform well upon its second week. That's not looking good. But Superman, I think, maybe held stronger. I didn't really look too much into the numbers. But me personally, when facing the prospect of wanting to go back and see one of the two for a second time, I want to and probably am going to go back and see Superman for a second time. And I'm probably not going to see Fantastic Four, at least in theaters, a second time. It was good. I don't think either of them were like great. I think Fantastic Four was a great opportunity to like show that Edgar Wright was right, that they should have been making what was right for the film. All the way, and not just try and like change the films to make them feel the same color grading, the same kind of music, the same, kind of humor, which is usually too much. And given that it got stale, and it got real stale, and after Endgame, I was always worried about this. After Endgame, when they say goodbye to a lot of the core characters, what are we going to do? What's going to happen after that? And it's basically going to shift away. They're going to... Is Doctor Strange popular enough to lead? I really think Chadwick Boseman was popular enough to... that made $1 billion too. I think if he had not died, that would have been a really good opportunity. He would have been the new leader of the Avengers alongside other people. And I think that just kneecapped them in such a way they did not know what to do.
Yeah.
After that, they were going to try a few new things with some TV shows. WandaVision was a wild swing and a hit. They did something really weird, really different, and it was super cool and good. Stands out. When you think about looking back at like WandaVision as a whole, it's like, man, that was so crazy that they even attempted that and even the approach. But I think it worked out in such a major way. Winter Soldier and the Captain America, the Falcon Captain America thing where he becomes Captain America. That could have been better. It was okay, but it wasn't great. I really liked those two guys, and I liked them together. I even like Baron Zemo in that. And I don't even disagree with the story. I think maybe it was like pacing and some of the stuff that I feel like they could have had Isaiah Bradley in there a bit more. It's like he always just ends up getting used as window dressing or a stepping stone for other characters. Like there was an Easter egg with I think his name's Patriot, one of the newer Captain America sidekicky kind of guys, like a young Avenger guy. And from then, it's like the shows were really hit and miss. I mean, a new show came out this week. Did you know?
No.
Eyes of Wakanda, apparently animated. I didn't even know. I heard about it on The Weekly Planet, a podcast I listen to. I've started listening to them a bit more lately. I reference James and Mason quite a bit on here. I try to give credit. If ever I mention something and I don't give credit, again, please know, I saw that H-Bomber guy video. I want to be part of like his, well, they're back at it again. We have a whole new batch of podcasters trying to plagiarize again. No, don't put me on there. Play this clip instead. I try to give credit, and some people do have parallel thinking. Yes, that is true. And sometimes you just, in the zeitgeist with everything going on, think about this. Everybody, like 9 billion people watching the same movie, you think 2 of them who've never met each other aren't going to have the same opinion at some point? They just happen to have, but it's like some of the people on his thing were for sure plagiarizing, and they came with receipts because there's just too much coincidental stuff that you cannot be explained away. I have mentioned people and forgotten to credit. I have mentioned people and probably forgotten that I was even repeating somebody else's information. And when I do, I just want to say, like, it's not plagiarism if I tell you this is not my original thought, like the guy on Instagram that thought of Henry Cavill to play Batman, which I think is an amazing idea. I just don't know his name. I'm sorry. We
could probably look that up, but
and then by now it'll be like dozens of people who will have, oh, I had an idea. I have an original idea unto myself. And honestly, I think it's actually great. And in conjunction with that, I think they were also floating this other guy, and a lot of people are zeroing in on this other guy that I'd never heard of for Batman. But I just can't get past this Henry Cavill thing. Because you're a huge Henry Cavill fan. You really like The Witcher, right? You've mentioned that a few times. And I thought he was a shoo-in for James Bond. I thought when I heard that he was in the running for James Bond, I was like, there it is. And I mean, people love him, so I don't think his career's in danger.
No.
I just hate the fact that, like, he kind of got screwed by a lot of things. And by all accounts, he seems like a really good guy. Wouldn't it be cool if he was vindicated in, like, the best way possible? Like, give him this position. It's like, man. And not just that, I genuinely think that he would make maybe a better Batman than Superman.
Yeah. And he's a huge nerd, so he's going to work.
Ben Affleck got to play George Reeves playing Superman. He kind of played Superman or whatever, and people count it, whatever. But, like, this would really be playing both Batman and Superman, and, like, not in a cameo sort of way where it's like I showed up in somebody else's movie or on a TV show for the multiverse. Basically with Wolverine, like, he's technically also been in both universes, DC and Marvel, because he's played a version of Wolverine. He was on screen for 10 seconds. Yeah, it counts. Sure, it's in it was in Deadpool and Wolverine. It was a huge movie, and they did it to prove a point. But man, if he was like, we're introducing our new Batman to go on for the next foreseeable future, and it's Henry Cavill, that'd be pretty cool. It would be like classic Batman. I mean, because that's what James Gunn is going for. Because James Gunn loves comic books, and I think there's a big part of him that really loves maybe all eras of comic books, but mostly like the Silver Age. That's what I'm getting. I don't know him. But that's what I'm like when I see what they did with Superman and the other few characters that are in there. It's like he's using modern characters, but in a Silver Age kind of way. Like, it's just fun and goofy. And, it's just like Guy Gardner in his Guy Gardner, Maxwell Lord suit. Not his real
Did I send you the thing, or did you send me the thing where someone was talking about, like, a fun way to introduce Batman into the new DCU?
I don't think
They were saying, like, you should just have rumors of this guy going around doing stuff and not actually introduce Batman until later and be like, oh, this is the guy.
Yeah, and have him in stuff, but never show his face.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even have to have the actor you land on, which I think has been done before.
Because they kind of did that in one of the animated films. It's based off of like the Justice League or them actually teaming up. But it's just like, oh man, this is Batman. We all thought this guy was made up.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. And then there would be massive speculation. Is it going to be the Robert Pattinson Batman, or is it going to be, which would then maybe canonize the Penguin? I don't know. That movie almost feels like it is set in another universe that's like always wet and always nighttime, maybe. But it could work, I guess. I don't think there's anything really dating it.
A lot of the stuff stemming back from at least Batman the Animated Series, Gotham always seems like it's perpetually not.
Yeah. Well, I think that was the original idea was Metropolis was New York by day and Gotham was New York by night. And one map that I had seen, this isn't connected at all, but just because you mentioned that. I've seen two different maps. One of them is no major city. The major cities are basically replaced by the fictional cities of the DC universe. And then some of them, I have seen a map where it's like the DC universe's Earth is technically like larger than ours because those cities, New York also exists as well as Metropolis. And so they the maps are just different. Somebody went to the trouble of making this. And I thought that was legit. Apparently it's not, or sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, because DC does not give a at all to like just nuke their canon and start fresh essentially and just say like all that stuff did happen. Again, multiverse, where they've had crisis events where it's like we have all these multiverses and now they're all dead. And Marvel did something similar to that at some point. I think it was the Fantastic Four or the end of the Jonathan Hickman run with that Secret Wars thing in Battle World, where it ended with Reed Richards and Doctor Doom, and it was pretty epic. But James Gunn looks to be the future of comic book films.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a lot of other things. I hope that emboldens people. Again, I'm still rooting for there to be a good like Shadow, Green Hornet. I really hope that gets vindicated. I know that other Green Hornet movie left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and the thing that sucks, the worst part about that is not that got made or whatever, but it's because that's like Michel Gondry, one of my favorite directors, like his only like big budget blockbuster film, and it really sucked. Yeah. But I love him and I love all the rest of his work. I just really wish there would be like a good Green Hornet film, and if they could do like if Dynamite made some movies and had their own little mini, like make 4 films and then lead into whatever their group would be called, which I don't know if they even have a name or whatever, but that would be pretty cool with the Green Hornet, the Shadow, the Spider, and Zorro, I guess. They could even do a Kato movie. They could do a little Kato spinoff. That would be the one that people would really want to see. Bruce Lee famously played Kato. It's like one of his bigger roles on TV. So that was one of the things, not just his, I think people forget about it because it's not shown anywhere.
Talking about that, they remarketed it over in China as the Kato show, and like is hugely popular. Because of that.
And that's just how they saw it. Was like, forget that other idiot. This guy's the one who does all the heavy lifting. Yeah. So I am looking forward to the Supergirl. I thought at the first time I saw the Superman film, I was like, I haven't watched anything with Supergirl in a long time, and I haven't read her comics again in a long time. There were a lot of comics from the 90s that she would guest star in some Superman. So, and her history is complicated because there was like she died in one of the crisis events. I think one of the other universes, Kara Zor-El's became Power Girl or something.
Power Girl was like an alternate version of Kara.
Yeah. And I was like, so that's actually also Supergirl? I didn't know that for the longest time because I just see her on the cover of comics and flip through JLI and Justice League International, which I think she was in for quite a while. But that was so long ago, I don't remember details on stuff like that. So when I found that out, I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. And I think the new Supergirl show, from what I've seen, basically depicts her as a female version of Clark Kent.
Yeah, kind of.
So, but I think James Gunn is maybe going to go back to, like, if somebody had to, like, Clark left as a baby and then landed and grew up. Like, he had a normal life with these parents or whatever. Kara left as a little bit older and still remembers the planet, remembers her family, and that's the canon I think he's going with.
Yeah. I know in the Arrowverse canon, she was supposed to have been sent with Clark or Kal-El as the baby to look after him. But something happened and she got off trajectory and stuck in some kind of
a time thing.
Something. And so he got to Earth first, grew up there as a baby, and then she landed later and had her own adopted family and life and what have you. But
so I could totally see, because I was like, that's a bit much when I saw her in that, and I was like, okay, so they're going to be like the opposites. And then I refreshed myself on some of her history, and then I went back and watched I finished watching, the Final Crisis 3-part thing, which was the most recent trilogy of animated films from DC. Chaotic and all over the place. There's your review on that. But I really liked the depiction of her because it feels really accurate. If you just knew that your planet blew up and could remember everything. And in that specific thing, she was with the Monitor who could have technically stopped it. And she comes to that realization. She remains super pissed. It's not just that this happened, it's that it was preventable. So in this, it's like, yeah, she's drinking all the time and like is just disgruntled.
But at the same time, if you just had Superman again, but it's a girl, that would just seem boring.
That is boring
and lazy. So
this is way better. I'm looking forward to this, and I think he talks about like she goes to planets with red suns so she can drink, and he seems kind of disapproving of it, which he would. That's totally accurate. But it's more than that, because it's why is she doing that? He's not worried about her health. She just come back to the yellow sun, rejuvenate. She's fine. It's because she's got deeper problems. He knows that. James Gunn knows that. And we're going to address that. We're going to all address that together. It's going to be a movie about like trauma and coping through it. I think it's going to be, I'm really looking forward to this now, because it's going to be her. And I think it's going to be more like Guardians than we think. It's not going to be like her hanging out on Earth again, fighting a kaiju. She's probably going to go from planet to planet. So we're going to yet again get something really different, and immediately in a way that the Marvel Universe didn't. Guardians was pretty early on, but I think we're going to open up the cosmic side.
Yeah.
And probably get a lot more cameos too.
I think with the way things are now, is DC side's looking a lot better. Because it was such a train wreck from the start that no one really cared. And James Gunn has enough goodwill coming over with him because he was some of the standouts with Marvel. And even his first forays into DC before they gave him control were the better of DC.
Yeah.
But Marvel, it just feels like they got lazy and they learned the wrong lessons from their successes. But I think we as fans also need to step up on Marvel's part, because it does seem like they're trying to fix that.
Yeah. Fantastic Four was really good, and it was a departure.
Yeah.
Music was good, acting was good. They made unconventional choices. I was harsh on the stuff with Galactus, but that's not, I'm not saying it like ruined the film or anything. I'm just saying if I have to be fair about my critiques, and that's just how I felt.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think everyone should see the film. I want them to do well, and they have the money to fail a little bit.
Because again, I think we need to be a little bit more realistic too, and like not listen to the detractors as much. I mean, there's some things for sure that need to be criticized and pointed out and fixed. But again, going back to the Marvels and like Black Widow, not the best, but nowhere near as bad as what everyone says they are. And even going with the movies released this year, like the new Captain America, not my favorite, but I watched it the other night, fairly solid entry. And I did not get to see the Thunderbolts. I was hoping I could see it before this. I didn't get to see it in theaters like I wanted, and they've not put it on streaming yet.
Oh, you've not seen it at all?
No.
Oh.
I was hoping they would have it on streaming before we recorded this. It just didn't happen. So I can't speak accurately on that. But from all accounts, it was good.
Yeah, it was really good.
It's just no one went and seen it.
It was like, okay, So, and you tell me if you feel this. This might taint your view on it, but I'm not as concerned about that. It feels like you get dropped in to the second act, and you're in, like, the movie does not have 3 acts. It's more like, and I know that someone could argue against me and be like, but at the 20-minute mark, it's really when it switches over to the second act. Okay, yeah, but what I'm saying, what it feels like, not what it actually is. You get dropped into the second act, and the second act is like maybe 3/4 of the film, and then you get the third act. Because I'm like, I kept waiting for some kind of shift, and it doesn't happen. And you're just like, it's nonstop. And it's and also I thought the Winter Soldier was going to end up being the lead. Maybe just because he's like the one main character that we know the best, and also maybe because of the trailer stuff that he's given equal footing. But it's really Yelena's movie.
Yeah, that's what surprised me, that more people didn't see this, is because Florence Pugh has become such a darling in the movie industry right now that I figured a lot of people would have went and seen it just because she's there. Because she was one of the better parts of the Black Widow movie as well.
I agree. And everyone thought that. Like, everybody loved Scarlett Johansson, but Florence Pugh stole the show.
Yeah.
So, for whatever reason, like, I can't think of his name. But the guy that plays Red Guardian, who's in, like, everything, played Hellboy and
David Harbour.
Yeah. I love that character.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it. He's just, like, unashamedly him. Like, he just moves forward through life, and he's, like, really positive just in how he wants to do things. And I really love that character. I love his portrayal of that.
One of the things that people don't talk about enough either is his character in those movies are a fairly big departure from the comic books. In a good way, because the Guardian he's portraying here is only one of like 3 that's been the Red Guardian. And even then it was more, it's kind of Russia's Captain America, but he wasn't a super soldier. And just kind of like, we're doing this to have our own guy. And that's about it. Not a lot there. Even with the future ones, it's not a lot going on with them either. So very much more interesting character in the movies. And I don't think that gets talked about as much, mainly because most people probably haven't read his comics. But
I hadn't either.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever read anything that has him in it, so I couldn't speak on that.
Like, I don't think I have
David
either,
Harbour's
but I've
portrayal.
watched different things about it, and they were like actually going off of what's written in the comic books. So I'm like, much more interesting character.
So let's see here.
One more thing before we move on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to reference where we're at with the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Because I think this is where you and I differ. Like, as much as I love Superman, like, my expectations were fully exceeded, but I think I resonated more with Fantastic Four just because I guess I'm more connected with those than I was Superman. But I don't know, like, I actually got excited watching the Fantastic Four in a different way than I did from Superman. So I'm like, the fact that no one came back to see it, or like the word of mouth wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my gosh.
And we've gotten good versions of Superman before. And like Man of Steel is not like a terrible film. It just, I don't think represents Superman in the best light. How in a way that, like we were just talking about with Red Guardian, it's maybe a good thing that they changed this F-list character to like make him functional in a better way to fit in the modern MCU or what have you. We've had good Superman films. We've never really gotten like a great Fantastic Four film until now.
Yeah.
And it's true to everything about the core of Fantastic Four, and they worked in the Easter egg of this specific universe number being Jack Kirby's, like related to his birthday. So that was really cool that they, that this is an in homage to Jack Kirby, who is so big a part of the Fantastic Four. Don't get me wrong, like I loved seeing a great Fantastic Four film. I just feel like I was never a big Fantastic Four reader. I'm a huge fan of them. I do love the individual characters and the ideas of the characters. I liked how they portrayed Reed. I've talked a bit about that. Like, they don't come right out and say it, but that is autistic representation. Don't think that it's not. And it's done in a very positive way.
Yes.
Even if you think that like him being negative about it, that's a lot of people who feel negatively about themselves. And like when you see somebody pick themselves up who's beating themselves up, you feel seen. That's not a bad thing to have somebody do that in that private moment, because we all do. And if you're like, that's a negative moment, then, and other people do that too. Like regular people do that too, I think. So yeah, we're closer on that than I think you think, but I just felt like they both got, really, I was going to say, I feel like Superman got redeemed. I think they both got redeemed in a major way. As a kid, I was just always much closer to Superman, and I read Superman a lot more. I drifted away from it because I feel like, especially in the 90s, it wasn't written as well as it could have been. It's just that big event, that crossover
to be fair,
event.
The 90s was weird for comic books.
Yeah, like had the Clone Saga for Spider-Man. Everything was like spikes and huge guns and belts and pouches. So Eyes of Wakanda came out. I guess it's 4 episodes. They're really cutting back on episodes. I guess it is also animated, is what I'm saying.
Is this going to be kind of like how the other Spider-Man was?
No idea.
It's like its own thing.
No, I think that from what I understand, I think this is canon to what we got going on now, MCU.
So I also know they said they're going to try and start moving away from TV shows being as integral.
Yes, that's what I thought too. And hence they are not doing Armor Wars, but like also Ironheart just came out. I've not watched any of that yet, although I hear good things and I've seen good things from it too. In October, we have Marvel Zombies. I guess that's also just going to be 4 episodes. I really could have done without that. I don't really like zombie stuff. I think they're playing on this craze that people who love zombie stuff are still out there, but everything there was a zombie movie a week, and then they tried different zombie type movies, and I feel like it really got saturated and played out. Just this year, Wonder Man is still coming out in December, and then March is Daredevil, Born Again, Vision Quest, sometime next year, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2, which was awesome. Yes. I'm really looking forward to that.
It was one of those I initially slept on, and then once I watched it, like, I just powered through every episode because it was so good.
Where's my X-Men 97 Season 2? 90, like, where's that? They literally said, as soon as possible. I think it's possible.
I hope that means that they're actually working on good writing and not anything else.
The fact that it's not listed here worries me, because this is Wikipedia. That really bugs me. That like
I think I've seen something also talking about maybe a spinoff from X-Men 97. I don't know a lot about that or if that's even accurate, but
what would it be?
I don't remember what they were saying, but
there's also the Punisher, like maybe a 1-hour Punisher thing that's also next year. So it's, I assume, going to be tied in with
new Spider-Man upcoming.
Yeah, that and Daredevil. He's a big part of that. And so the films that are upcoming are Spider-Man. That's just about a year, just under a year from now. And then Avengers, and then Avengers a year apart from that. We might not get any Marvel for the year of 2027 until December, except for the TV shows that they've claimed they were backing off on.
Well, I wonder if that's because they already had those TV shows in production, and then after that, or maybe those TV shows are not going to be as canon, and it's just TV shows.
Could be. I don't know.
But I know they said that Fantastic Four set up 5 movies. When they release, I don't know. But we got 2 Avengers movies coming out of it, an X-Men, a sequel to Fantastic Four, and a Silver Surfer. So
maybe a Galactus movie? Maybe. That would be dumb.
No, but I think Silver Surfer being tied so closely with the Galactus that we could see more of him there, though.
Yeah, definitely. That's the Galactus movie. If anything, I feel like it should be co-leads, that we should get a crazy wild backstory on Galactus. Or not. Just leave it vague. Like, he's this ethereal being. You just don't, like, that crazy thing he says, like, I'm from the another universe or whatever that predates the Big Bang. And they're like, so is he God? And they're like, who knows?
It could be going on to the theory that the Big Bang is like a black hole sucking all of one universe in, and then finally collapsing on itself and exploding out a new universe.
I think, and there is an origin for Galactus. I mean, his name was Galen something, and that was basically it. He was the last survivor from the universe he was in and had this machinery to float him from the end of his universe to another one. And I don't remember all of that was in like Marvel Saga. I think I read that. So, I mean, they weren't shy about that. I just want to see an in-depth, like, I want to 3/4 or at least half of this movie, I think, needs to be set on, I can't remember the Silver Surfer's home planet. It's Shalabal was his wife. And I think it was one thing I don't know if we talked about, and I meant to. Norrin Radd isn't in her flashback. There's a very minute flashback. Norrin Radd is not in it. It's her daughter. I thought that was very strange and very telling. They don't have him in there at all.
I wonder if that's because as part of her flashback, Norrin Radd had already left to become the Silver Surfer. And so she is talking about giving up that part of her life, or are they going with just completely different story here?
Yeah. Yeah, and see, I think when we do get a Norrin Radd Silver Surfer, it's not going to be from that universe. It'll be from a completely different universe.
That's going to be my next thing.
Hopefully they have her, the actress who played the Silver Surfer, also play that Shalabal to have, like, I don't know, some reference to that, like, this is definitely a different universe. Don't get confused. It's not that hard.
Because from all reports I've seen, they're bringing it in to collapse these universes into one to end off the multiverse stuff.
Right, yeah.
So it's very possible what we're seeing now might be like cherry-picked things out of everything to get the story they want to tell, and maybe not necessarily the comic book accurate storylines. But
yeah, like they've definitely cut way back, clearly, on the movie stuff. I'm glad to see some of what's being made. I just want it to be, like, take time, make it good. Yeah. Like James Gunn said, he has a rule, and it's your screenplay has to be done before they move forward on it. If it's good, it'll get made. And that's how Clayface got made. They were like, why did you go with this? And he's like, he finished the screenplay and it was good, so I said, let's go.
Yeah, I think that's what's compounding Marvel's problems right now, because Fantastic Four, even though they're like, oh yeah, it dropped off on its second week, its first week made a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But the amount of money they say it needs to make back to like break even or to be considered successful, I'm like, that could be mitigated with budgeting fixes. And if you have your script beforehand and you're not, having to do all this extra like improv guesswork fixes with your CG and filming schedules and times and whatnot, like that's gonna knock your budget way down.
Yeah, I've heard the things that I've heard. I think we mentioned it just slightly in the previous one. This was new information. Was that they're doing it like they would do the comic books. The Marvel method was to like have somebody draw a comic and have that storyteller, who is kind of a co-storyteller, come up with a story, and then Stan Lee would come behind, or the other writers or whatever, and just like fill in the gaps of narration and dialogue and thought bubbles. I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
I could not imagine giving up that, but they made some great stuff that way. But having said that, oh my God.
I mean, paper and ink is a lot less than the amount of time it takes to do what they're doing.
Because they're getting into, hundreds of people are having to do CGI work, and it's just being scrapped. And are we ever going to get Spider-Man into the multiverse movie back? Like, that's scheduled for 2027 now? Is it, though? I don't understand, like, and there's like literal hour-long YouTube mini docs devoted to like what's going on with these movies. Why can they not make them? Why are they not coming out on time? Why is that getting pushed back and back and back? So I really hope Marvel can buy back Spider-Man and just be able to make these like without Sony looking over their shoulder, or keep, if they can use it or not, or how it's going to be. I wish they could move forward with a singular vision, but that's not going to happen. Or at least
keep Sony from making terrible movies
that would be nice.
Like, waters.
Even if Marvel was just making like medium to high grade, like, I don't have to think for the next 2 hours. Just let me enjoy this. At least the market wouldn't be flooded with these other things, because you were talking about them tanking the IP of Spider-Man. It tanks comic book films as a whole.
Yeah.
When you get a Morbius or these other like Craven. God forbid they ever make a Madam Web movie. What would that even be like?
Oh, I've seen so many things about the Madam Web stuff. Like, they made the movie.
What, they made a Madam Web movie?
Yeah, technically.
Did they release it?
Yes.
Was it good?
No. But I've seen people talk about it, and it's like the movie that was made and what we got were not the same thing, because you could actually tell the parts that they went back and redubbed.
Oh yeah, like they actually did like a bit of CGI on the mouth, or they didn't even bother, and it's like the guy's just saying different things. Yeah. Because the one guy's like French, and the accent's really weird anyway, and then like it doesn't match at all. I've seen the same things. I was around about not knowing. I didn't watch it though.
So, I didn't either. I just watched someone talk about it.
Yeah,
like that.
I had to know.
Insane, yeah.
And it was breaking people. Like, how did they let them get away with this? Why would you do this? And then the stuff they put in the trailer with all the women wearing their like cool costumes, it's like essentially not in the movie. It's like a vision of the future or something. And it's like, oh, the one cool thing that anybody was maybe looking forward to, they don't even really get it. That was it. That was like a bait and switch in the trailer. Oh my God. So yeah, I don't think Tron counts. It's not technically based on anything. It was just,
If anything, Tron's a computer game movie.
Yeah. So, if you think about, like, a computer game that didn't exist, more or less, or, like, the idea of it, I'm not sure if, like, the Space Paranoids or whatever the original thing, if that was actually something that existed prior to that, or just very similar things they had to co-opt for it. So, I mean, hopefully it's good. What I'm seeing is people are looking forward to this, but they really don't like Jared Leto.
Yeah. I think that's, like, set comic book movies aside. You can talk about comic book fatigue or whatever all day long. I don't think that's the issue. Mm-hmm. People don't want to talk about it. It's the movie in general. Or movies in general, because with the way ticket prices are and concession stands and all of that, like, you really have to cherry pick what movies you decide to go see. And you can't take the chance on, like, the unknown indie movie. And that's why a lot of these people, or studios rather, are putting out, like, known IPs, like based off books or remakes or sequels, or because people see that and they're like, oh, I know what that is. Maybe I'll spend my money on that instead of the thing I have no idea what it is. Mm-hmm. And then that's why you're having to have these like independent theaters to maybe go and find these indie movies. If these movies aren't quite as good as what you have in your mind, that just pisses you off. You're like, man, I spent money on this. Because I think even now I've seen, I want to think it was like someone from like Blumhouse or something like that, or saying like even like horror movies, which is normally your cheaper to make options or whatever, it has to be a spectacle now, like on par with like the Avengers, to get people to come to the theater to see those.
Yeah.
And it's like, at what point is that not going to be sustainable?
Yeah, and things go in cycles. I think a lot of it's who could have predicted, but because I think a lot of this would still be happening. Maybe in slow motion, or maybe it would have already happened a few years ago the way that it did. However, Endgame was 2019. Less than a year later would be COVID.
Yeah.
They were already going to like have to restructure, and there were going to be a lot of changes going forward with Marvel films. DC was still smack in the middle of a few things. They had not put out the Shazam, the Blue Beetle, like all those films I listed off at the beginning, Black Adam, and The Flash even. So
the Amber Heard stuff messing with Aquaman.
Yeah, that too. And I even think, because they who knows how much they cut out or left in or whatever of the second film. So I think that had a lot to do with it. Everybody took it wasn't a year, but for different people, there were different times. Some people, I had a 2-month break. Other people had a much longer break, or went back to work immediately, but from home, and then never went back. So they just did their job from home from then on, or maybe were even able to like do it remotely from some other part of the country. Everything changed. Some things are starting to return to normal. Places are starting to stay open later again that hadn't in a long time. So I think when we went back, I think a lot of people, I don't think people necessarily shifted their perception on it. People just want a good movie. I still, like, Late Night with the Devil was such a wild swing. It's such a great horror film, basically, from that genre, but it's not, like, I had a friend who's just all about the kill count. Nope, she's been on the show, Becky. Becky's all about the kill count. And she saw this thing, it was like, only 2 people died in that. Ugh. Yeah, did you watch the film, Becky? It was a masterpiece. It was such a unique experience, too.
Is that the one where it's like the late night talk show?
Yes, David, the actor from several DC films, and I was just watching him yesterday on his show, like talking, whatever that is, I don't know the name. I probably still have it on my tabs open here, because he was talking to, nope, I clicked away from that as well. Hey, talk about something different for a second. Give me a moment.
Going back to like you talking about like lockdown and stuff, changing everything. I think that also kind of changed like movie viewing experiences where everything was going to like simultaneous streaming.
Yeah.
And then people having like their stimulus money buying new TVs and sound systems. And then it's just like, hey, I can watch these movies on a pretty good TV with a pretty good sound system without having to pay extra money and without having to deal with people and paying the exorbitant amount of prices for my snacks. So I think that also kind of changed people's perspective on, even more so, on what movies am I actually going to go see in theater. Because I know for me personally, I would live at the theater if I could. I love the theater experience, but it's not affordable. So I have to cherry pick what movies I see and where. So yeah, I think that's a lot of people's mindsets now.
Yeah, they want the most out of it. They don't want to waste their money. It's like, well, I could just stream this next week. Why should I go see it now when popcorn prices, ticket prices, everything's out of control? Teach them a lesson and go on Tuesday whenever it's the discount
it's like,
day.
why should I pay $14 for an hour and a half movie versus $14 for a 3-hour movie? It's like
there is that too. The new Naked Gun is that. It's an hour and a half. Whereas, yeah. So David Dismalchin, I got it. I think I got it. I probably didn't. Has this YouTube show called Grave Conversations. Here's the thing. I think he's earned this. He's like this, I don't want to say what list actor he's on, because he's a really great character actor. And this Late Night with the Devil was one of the best horror, like psychological thriller horror films I'd seen in a really long time. It's such a great concept where it's like done as a documentary. There's an intro at the beginning. You're going to see the raw, unedited footage of this night, so you see when they go live.
Isn't it like a found footage adjacent?
Kind of, because it's like it's different. There's different camera views, but it's like it's because it's a TV studio. But then whenever they go to commercial break, like a documentary style camera continues to follow him, and then you see all the stuff that's going on with his personal life. And on stage, you're like I think it's like maybe Halloween night, and they're doing like this girl who's possessed by a demon, and they have this handler on there that knows how to like summon it or something. And they have an amazing Randy type character, the magician who debunks spiritualists, come on there to say this is all fake. And I don't like, there's nothing really to I don't want to spoil anything. It's just a great concept for a movie, so interesting. You won't have seen anything like it, and everything about it like screams late 70s, early 80s. It just looks so authentic too, and feels that way. David Dismalchin does. I just discovered this a few weeks back. Grave Conversations on YouTube. It's short. It's like somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes. He's done like James Gunn, Kevin Smith, Mark Duplass is one that just came out a few days ago. I had not finished that one. He interviews people, and they both lie in a casket.
Oh, that's him that does that.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And he asks them not necessarily like dark questions, but questions that would have to be asked, at the end of one's life or something, or like to sum things up, or before you die, you should whatever. And it's pretty interesting. Anyway, I don't even remember why I brought up that.
But even though it's off topic for our landscape of superheroes, if you have a library subscription, the movie Chris was talking about is free on Canopy right now. You just have
all you need is a library card?
Yeah.
Huh. It's on something else too. I can't remember. Or maybe I bought it. I can't remember.
Yeah, but as long as you have a library card, you go in, create an account, register that card, and you got access to all these movies. And that is one of them.
I highly recommend it. I think we're talking in the larger context of that it's not sustainable that even horror films have to do this. And I think that's why we've seen a significant drop off in not that indie films stopped being made, but there was a huge market for indie films at one, in the early 2000s and even into the teens. There was a big market for indie films, and they were getting better and better because they did have this niche market. That has kind of died off too, and I assume they're just getting like flooded into these other things, and there's like these high concept TV shows being made, like Man in the High Castle and Handmaid's Tale and things like that some say are really good, and Handmaid's Tale I think serves a really wonderful purpose, especially right now, but it's not sustainable to expect everything to be a spectacular event.
Well, especially when they're talking about the budgets of these movies, you're going to get to a point where you're never going to get that return. On box office.
No, and it's not going to make...
Like, even if everyone's seen it.
Yeah, it really isn't. And with, people, that's the debate that I was seeing in the comment section talking about Tron was, we need to get back to seeing films and stop, like, just avoiding them so that they will make better films, because now they're just banking on that it'll get some views later.
Yeah, because I know that was the big thing I heard about the last Captain America movie. Mm-hmm. I don't have the numbers, so I don't know exactly how well it did at the box office. But I know they said that once it hit streaming, it was like in their top 10, like immediately.
Yeah, and Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Wait.
I think it probably will be.
Yeah, because I think that was is like it didn't get a lot of. No, the thing I was going to say is they didn't get. It didn't make a lot of as much money as they were expecting, but the reception was great.
Yeah.
Like everyone had good things to say about it. It's probably something like 85 or something, but I promise it's better than that.
Yeah.
Okay, so a good amount of comic books. A good amount about comic books. And Lanterns. There was the Lanterns show.
Yeah.
Is the other thing that's like they're actually doing that. I wasn't looking forward to it. Saw Superman. Now I'm looking forward to it. Is there any big event that you would say you're looking forward to, or that you want them to do either for Marvel or DC or what have you? Here's my thing. I wanted a live action Flashpoint Paradox movie. And then I remembered that's what the Flash movie was. And then I was like, oh yeah, we're not getting that because they already it up with Ezra Miller. He had to be strangling people in public and whatnot, and worse things in private. So that was that, and we're not going to get to continue on with anything of that ilk.
Well, the next big thing would be the Lanterns, would be the whole thing with Parallax.
Yeah, Blackest Night.
Yeah.
You think? And that's what I'm hoping for that. Blackest Night, if they do like the full thing and really extend it out.
Yeah, you really have to set up for that. That's going to be a long term.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, unless they do a live crisis event where that then becomes a multiversal kind of thing.
I mean, DC just has so many multiversal crisis events that...
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got a lot to choose from.
What what you were talking about with the Secret Wars consolidating down into like one universe. That's kind of what they did in at least one of their crisis events. Some of them reboot it for the better, some of them reboot it for the worse. So we'll see. With Marvel, here come the X-Men.
Yeah, there's so much from like Claremont's run alone that they could do with the X-Men. Like, I mean, actually do it right, not just what Fox gave us. But.
Yeah. The only quote I've heard is that we're going to get something like we've never seen before. I hope so. I just hope it's also good. I love Chris Claremont. He's like revolutionized a lot, especially Magneto. What he did with Magneto was took a 2-dimensional character and made him 4-dimensional, but I also really love at least the spirit or a lot of the higher concepts that Grant Morrison did on his run of on the X-Men. So also Superman.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, also, most of the X-Men content we have seen has either been from, like, the 80s and 90s or older runs, especially in the films. Some of the TV shows kind of took some of the newer, like Wolverine and the X-Men, but that didn't get its full run. But there's just so much of the newer X-Men content that they could pull from.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if they get super weird with it and have that Krakoa era.
If they did Krakoa, it would have to be handled really carefully. I don't know if they had like a clear plan for an end game for that, because Jonathan Hickman usually has an idea that's like start to finish, and like he did with like the Avengers, Secret Wars stuff, and the Fantastic Four. With this, he started this and then he left the run. before it was over, and that really shocked me. I don't know what the
But
deal
that's
was.
also one of those things that it is a more complicated thing. So I know people are like, I don't want to watch TV shows to have to keep up with the movies. That also seems like a concept that would be better explored in a longer form content.
Yeah.
Than just like a 2 to 3 hour movie.
One thing, I don't know, there's so many good X-Men storylines they could do that they've threatened to do or whatever, but one thing I think is drop the Magneto turns good by the end of the film, but then is bad by the beginning of the next film.
Yeah.
We can stop that. Just leave, and here, this is your friendly neighborhood reminder that Magneto's been a good guy for the vast majority of his run. That at this point, he was recontextualized by Chris Claremont in the 80s. And then, and I can't remember who was writing on it, but in the Secret Wars where he was, like the Beyonder, like separated them out into two teams, good guys and bad guys. Magneto was put with the good guys. And even all of them were like, why is he with us? And he was like, I'm a good guy. And they're like, no, you're not. And he was like, whatever. You guys just don't even know what you're doing.
Especially at this point with the X-Men, it's more less defined lines. You just got several schools of thought that are working alongside each other.
When it's written at its best.
Yes.
Which is a lot of what the Krakoa storyline, the most recent, like, huge thing they got going on, is a lot of the villains, like, made a deal with them to, like, consolidate power and, like, just protect their species. And I think some of that was kind of off screen. I was keeping up with X-Men right before that, and there was like this final issue kind of, and they had like they were going to have like a bit of a soft reboot, and there were like Professor X had been cloned and put into his own body or like his mind, so he was younger and had to like go around and convince them that he was really him, but he was in a younger body and could do all this stuff.
How many times is that going to keep happening? Because isn't that how he got his legs back the first time?
I think so. But this was like a lot younger. Like he was blonde and had blonde hair and looked a fair bit different. And I haven't, again, this is pre-COVID, I think. So they get the gang all back together. I can't remember the full lineup, but it was kind of like, not necessarily a cliffhanger. There was some loose things going on out there they could move forward with, but everything else was kind of tied up, and it ends with this big, page of them standing together as a group like, all right, we're back together and ready to go as a team. Next issue, they're all living on Krakoa. What? What the is this? So they're on this island that is itself a mutant or alive or something? You can only get there through portals that detect if you're a mutant or not. And everybody's just here. And there are characters that are dead, that are alive again. There are characters you haven't seen in 10 years because they've just been out in the ether. They're not important or useful for anything.
The island can resurrect people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of it, they eventually show you some of the things that happened in between or how it happened, but there's no direct link between that one issue and what happened next and how maybe there at some point, because they did way too much. They started like it started with like just the 2 miniseries titles where it tells the story, and then there was, also the X-Men ongoing, because there was like Powers of X or Powers of 10 and House of, I don't know.
Yeah.
That was, again, that's like 5 years ago. And then there was also the ongoing X-Men story. They brought titles back, like there's
that just
X-Force.
seems to be like X-Men in general, though. You got X-Men, Amazing X-Men, Astonishing X-Men,
Excalibur,
X-Force, Extremes.
Way too much. And then any of the Wolverine comics, they had Scarlet Witch comics, they had Magneto comics, Gambit stuff, and it was way too much to keep up with. I was like, I kind of like what they were doing with Moira McTaggart. I loved her storyline in that, where it shows her living through all these lifetimes, and the stuff with Destiny, how she could see through her like, it was crazy. I really liked that. If they could incorporate elements of that, that would be pretty cool. I love Jonathan Hickman. I love his big concept writing. I hope they do Council of Reeds. I hope they do stuff with Franklin. I hope they do storyline where like Reed Richards' dad comes back and like the 3 of them are there, and he has like major issues with his dad, and because I think it's kind of similar to like Cyclops and Havoc's dad. I don't think he became a space pirate like Cyclops and his, but he definitely wasn't
less
present.
Cool.
Yeah, like less cool, not present, maybe travel to the future or something, and he comes back and he's like, what? I'm here now. And Reed Richards is like, look, I'm emotionally cold to begin with. you're just making this worse. And like the Explorer, I would just love a Fantastic Four movie that focuses on Franklin Richards, or like some weird like hour thing that just goes through Franklin Richards' life, like his whole life. That one's for free. Do that. Like just show him like age up, like maybe even almost not documentary style, but I can't even think. Almost like that movie Home or whatever, where it's like it's about one spot in space and time, and it shows like the dinosaurs, and then this home gets built here, and it's about all the big events that happen in all these families' life that had lived there or whatever. I don't know. There was a comic book that was based on, too. That's a comic book movie. Well, more like a graphic novel movie, but essentially that. Yeah, I know that went rapid pace right to the end, but I think that's all I've got.
Let's wrap up. There's a lot they could do.
Yeah.
Again, I think we as fans have to also extend our side out. It's like it looks like Marvel's trying. We'll see if they learn the right lessons. If you haven't
seen Fantastic Four, go see it. I don't think we spoiled anything today. Go see it. It's actually really good. It's a fun, and the thing is, family film too.
Yeah. Assuming it's still in theaters by the time this comes out.
I believe. So you probably find it somewhere, depending on where you're at. It's if you have even smaller kids, I think would still really enjoy it. Force them to go see it though. Just buy a ticket. Go out and buy a ticket to it. And just take yourself out to dinner. Forget to go see the movie. Just make sure that they keep making these movies.
Yes. And for all the negative people out there, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Don't talk about it. Let me like what I like and allow me to enjoy it.
Yeah. Shut the up.
And I think that's a great note to end on. So, if you guys have any thoughts, like where do you think this is going? What do you think about where we're at? What do you want to see from either DC or Marvel in the future? Be sure to follow us on our social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, see ya.